This is a HeadGum podcast. You got mail.
Hello, I'm Milly Tamaris.
And I'm Alise Morales.
And this is
Go Touch Grass,
the podcast where we log in.
So you can log off.
Alise and I are two chronically online comedians, and on this pod, we break down the week in internet discourse, viral memes, TikTok trends, and niche influencer drama so that you can do literally anything else with your time.
Text your mom. Call your dad.
Call your dad. Not call your daddy.
No.
Because that's not this podcast.
That's a different podcast.
We'd love a quarter of what that bitch is getting, but whatever. But we digress.
Different discourse for a different day.
Discourse. Put a pin in that. Call your daddy. Just call her daddy discourse.
Guys, and if you like what you hear today and you want to hear more, we've got a Go Touch Grass Patreon already up and running with all of our test episodes, mini trending topics, a weekly newsletter, and our spin-off series Search History, where we go back and break down a viral discourse from the past.
And I do have to shout out that the Discord is popping right now.
Yes, we have a Discord.
Somebody was like, hey, I know that we're all in different corners of the internet, but who would you nominate as your grasshole of the week?
I love to see that discussion.
And we love to see it.
That's beautiful. And that's one of the, if you join our Patreon, you can get in the Discord.
You can get in there because we got a great episode about Elon and Don Lemon. And we get into it. And that's a lot. Speaking of things we love to see, we love to see our guest for today.
Wow.
Our guest for today, let me tell you something. Our guest for today, comedian, writer specifically on Netflix's Human Resources, actor, and Kansas City's true hometown hero. Fuck you, Travis Kelce. Everyone give it up for Caleb Hearon! Fuck Travis Kelce. Caleb.
Hi.
We're so happy to have you in the studio.
I was happy to come in, but then when I walked in and you guys said, "What is this faggot doing here?" That threw me off.
That's just how we greet all of our guests. That's just what we say when people come to the studio.
I'm sorry, but Alise and I live in Bushwick. And that's how that's our community.
Just cultural? Okay.
That's just cultural.
Okay.
Yeah, we reclaim the F word.
And is it also a Bushwick thing that you guys have a big sign up in here that says no fats, no femmes?
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
is that, I didn't know if
as
that was...
a fat and a femme.
I was wondering. I was like, what's going on?
I am a self-hating fat
It's
femme.
ironic, and it's actually satire, and it's a skit.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
all together. Oh, that's a whole segment of the internet is when people say the most unfunny, serious to-camera things and say, it was a skit, guys.
It's a skit. Just lying straight up.
Lying.
Or these horrible things now where people are doing like very obvious skits where they're like pretending to have like a big breakup and throwing a TV out a window or something and being like, this is fucking crazy. Men are scary. And it's like, that was a written piece.
Yeah.
Men are scary. But that was a written piece that people are taking as serious. Yeah.
The people do that shit all the time on the subway. Like, oh my God, there's this one little person that gets into all kinds of shit, like, and they do like perform skits, but it looks like random, like New York is crazy, and there's like,
but it's a skit.
Yeah, it's like this woman will throw this little person off the train and shit, like crazy stunts, or they'll run down the escalator. It's kind of like Jackass, giving Jackass, but at Broadway Junction, which
TikTok has turned culture into Improv Everywhere.
It really is.
Improv Everywhere is getting a big redemption arc right now, I feel, because their whole thing is like working for TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, we know the guy who created Improv Everywhere. We love him.
Yes.
Charlie Todd, we love you and your beautiful family.
But it is. I think people are misunderstanding the message and taking it to TikTok. And what I'll say right now is that I do not need anybody making content at Broadway Junction. What's happening at Broadway Junction is high energy.
Broadway Junction's like,
now what is Broadway Junction?
It's a
subway station where the J train,
the A train is deep in Brooklyn.
Is this one with the checkers, and is that the one that
no,
we're
that's
all
where
the time?
No, that's
okay.
literally
that's where we live.
Don't tell me that.
The Father, Son,
not close enough. Whatever. But anyway,
the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Popeyes, the Checkers, and the Dunkin'.
Yeah.
Yes, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. That's where we live.
That is another insane.
That's another
kind
murder
of
Broadway, because there's
Broadway
a meth
Junction,
clinic right there, and K2 and all this stuff.
Broadway Junction has a very particular. It's like 2 levels. You have to go up the most
crazy.
Narrow, insane escalator where you do. It's real. You feel like you could die at any moment. It's the most. It's the most
this
unsafe
little
shit I've
person's
seen.
just jumping off that. It's crazy.
See, that's the thing is I can't see there's already so much going on. Preachers are at Broadway Junction
preachers
trying
are
to
Broadway
hand you
Junction.
literature.
It's crazy.
Y'all need to
too
listen
much.
up when the preachers hand stuff out.
Yeah.
Y'all need to listen up.
We already said that we're going to hell, right?
Yeah.
Like, because of premarital sex and all that bullshit, right? But then there's a deeper hell for Dick Cheney. That's what I say, Dick Cheney hell.
I don't think I'm
Verdict's,
going there.
no, verdict's still
I don't
out
think
on
I'm
that.
going
I don't
there.
think I'm going there. But
I had a really bad, when I was flying in here, I was supposed to have a very short direct flight from Chicago. And it ended up taking us about 9 hours to get here.
what?
No.
We got delayed because of weather. Not delayed, in the air, circled. So I was on the
No.
plane for 8 hours, and I was sitting next to a very good friend of mine. And at one point, we were in Baltimore because we ran out of gas while we were circling LaGuardia. So we had to go
Baltimore's
get Baltimore. Hey, I love your airport that I was in for 2 hours. But my friend turned to me at one point because they were updating us every 15 minutes and being like, hey, we're going to go in 5 minutes. And they were doing it. We did that for 2 or 3 hours. And at one point, and we're keeping good spirits. I'm saying 4 or 5 hours into this, me and my friend are still joking and being like, hey, it could be a lot worse. The AC's working. Like, we're being very, we're
The
checking
door
in with
could
our
fly
gratitude.
off.
You
Yeah.
could have just got on the fucking Acela at that point.
And we considered it, but they weren't letting anyone off. And then at one point, my friend turned to me, speaking of hell, and just goes, do you think this is what hell is? Like, literally, like, do you think sitting on a plane for 8 hours and every 15 minutes they tell you in 5 minutes we're out of here?
I think it's a version of hell.
I think that's
It
a
is
version of
a
hell.
That's
version of
absolutely
hell.
a layer of hell.
Speaking of versions of hell, Caleb, you got your fame from a series of front-facing videos. From my personal,
Not this.
You
Don't
love
bring up front-facing videos. A cursed concept.
Don't curse it, bitch. That's how you got here. But my favorite is POV. You're talking to your friend and they're in the wrong, and it's just like a video of you responding and stuff. My question is, that was the video went super viral. Did the friend you were referencing ever ask you what that was about? Or was that a amalgamation of many friends?
Well, it's an amalgamation of many friends, but the funny thing is that video. So here's the tea on that video. First of all, that was an era of, it feels like a bygone era to me, but that was an era of Chicago comedy when like doing those little character videos on the internet, specifically with Chicago comedians, felt like we did feel like we were doing something different at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people outside of that scene felt that we were, but we in Chicago definitely felt like, oh, we're doing Twitter videos now. Like we were convinced in our heads that we were doing something different. It's up to everyone else if we were or not. But I was really getting into it and being like, okay, how do I make these, like, how do I do these videos creatively? And basically what happened, I had this horrible day job that I hated so much. I was an administrative assistant at an ad agency. The people were nice, but the work sucked. It just was not where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so shout out to some of my former coworkers who I'm still friends with. Love y'all. But I started being bad at the job. Like I just was like, I was showing up late. I was not doing things that I was asked to do. Like I was
that's
objectively.
just normal.
Yeah, I was a bad employee.
Quiet quitting.
I was quiet quitting, but here's the problem. I was calling my friends every time I would get in trouble at work and being like, can you fucking believe that? And my friends were like, oh no, how could they do that to you? And then I started listening to myself and I'm like, of course you got in trouble, dumbass. You're not doing your job.
So you're the bad friend.
I'm actually the friend on the other end of the phone.
Wow,
in that
so
video.
deep.
Wow.
The
And-
artistic process. I
Yeah.
feel like we're inside the actor
Ooh.
studio.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that little Twitter? Yeah, so I was on a break from. When I filmed that, I was outside my office in Chicago. I took my lunch break and just walked around the block because I was fuming at how much I was in trouble and knew that I was wrong. Because that's the worst time to be in trouble.
Yeah.
When you know that you're in the wrong.
You knew when
Yeah.
you fucked up, yeah.
And I was like, I am going to record a fake version of what I wish a friend would say to me if I would call them right now. And that's what that video was.
Wow.
That's so cool.
No, and it's a beautiful, like, self-reflective moment. It's
Yeah.
exactly how art is supposed to be used.
And like self-aware, but there was truth in there. And that's what fucking resonates with people. Is like when you're honest about shit, people eat that shit up. So
I think something about me is that even if it takes me a little while, it takes me sometimes longer than I want it to, and I'm not proud of that. But I feel like one thing I am proud of is I usually can get to the truth when I'm in the wrong. I usually can circle back and be like, you were wrong about that. You were being annoying. You were being unfair. And I will get there. And that was one of those moments where I was like, you're being mad at your job for getting onto you when it's absolutely correct that they do. You know?
Wow. And that, I mean, that's better than a lot of people, I'll tell you that. Some people never get there.
No, some people never get there.
Some people, I'm like, Doug, you don't see a common denominator in your fucking problem.
You're the drama. The drama follows you because
The
you're the
drama
drama.
it follows. Horror movie. This is a kind of a film podcast,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I do love It Follows. You know, but speaking of,
it follows.
Okay, speaking of, it follows.
And
the bisexual community.
Yeah,
You recently got into some discourse.
Yeah.
With the bisexual community.
They're upset
Were
at
you
you.
the drama in that situation?
What's
Do
going
you want to
on?
address the drama?
Address the bisexual community right now.
I would legitimately. So basically, what happened was, for context, for people who don't know, is I
Mm-hmm.
posted a TikTok of my podcast, an episode I did with Brittany Broski, who I fucking adore. By the way, Brittany is so funny.
Not more than me though.
No.
Okay, great.
You guys are extremely equal. All three of you.
Thank you.
Wow.
No, but I love Brittany, and we were talking. Somebody had called in and been like, "Can you?" I do this segment where I let people call in and ask me what they want to know the truth about. And someone had called in and said, "Can you tell me the truth about bisexual women? What's going on with them, et cetera, et cetera." I have a lot of bisexual women friends. I feel very comfortable making this joke. I
Did
do
you
not
say the B word?
apologize. I have, and I'll call them right now. No, I do not apologize for this joke. It's funny. Okay, I have a lot to say about this. Let me just. Okay.
This is a space.
This is a
here.
space. We're
The
discoursing.
studio's hot.
Yeah.
Listen, Emma's
We're doing
here.
discourse. So basically, Emma, first of all, are you mad at me?
Our producer,
Our
Emma.
producer Emma.
No.
She's not mad.
Bisexual icon.
And she's not mad.
Bisexual, yeah,
Speaking
she's-
on bisexual, on behalf
She's
of
wearing a
bisexuals
turtleneck
everywhere.
and everything. She's here, man.
I have no beef with you, Caleb.
Emma's outfit came out to me before she did. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a bisexual.
She's
if I've
wearing
ever...
the chunky turtleneck.
Yeah,
She
baby.
is
She
here.
got the
Okay.
little Schneid
So
twin
what
boots on.
happened? So somebody called in.
Someone called in and said, "What's the truth of bisexual women?" And I said, I have the utmost respect for bisexual women. I think them and their boyfriends. Brittany laughed really loud because it's a funny joke. And bisexual women, here's what I will say. A lot of them mad, a lot of them not mad at all. The comments are pretty much
Equal.
like
Divided.
50-50, 60-40,
Polarized.
depending on where you're looking. Here's the deal. My thing with bisexual people, they're valid. I love them. I love being in community with them. But bisexual people often are decrying that they're not part of the community. We want to be taken seriously in the queer community. We want to be part of the queer community. And then when we read them, the way that queer people read each other, they get mad. I'm like, honey, this is the community.
Yeah, the community
We
is
fuck with each
roasting
other. We're joking with each other. I make jokes. I go on stage and make jokes about my trans friends. They make jokes about gay men. The community is reading. This is done with love. This is a community practice.
Wow.
It's like being Italian.
Yes.
Yeah, or being Dominican or being any marginalized group. Part of
Cuban,
it is, and you can tell the jokes like when it's coming from love and when it's coming, and then also like there's a bit of truth in it. I don't know. That's really a great astute observation, is that they want to be in community, but being in community means being secure enough about your space and your place in it that you can be made fun of.
And what you said about security is really important, right? Because a lot of the reason they're lashing out at me is not because the joke is egregious or because the joke comes from a place of hatred.
No, the joke's fire.
The joke is fire, and it comes from a place of love because I do love bi people. The reason they're lashing out at me is because they feel insecure because they don't feel queer enough. That's your business.
That's not on you. That's not on Caleb.
That's not my problem,
That is not
baby.
Caleb's problem.
And then, some people were doing stitches about. There were some really funny ones where bi women would like reveal their boyfriends, which were very funny.
Yeah, that's
But
pretty funny.
some of them were doing jokes, or not doing jokes, but doing like really serious breakdowns. Everyone who has like above 10,000 followers on TikTok thinks that they need to issue statements. Bitch, nobody
yeah.
cares.
Well, yeah. Alise, you heard that? No statements.
Sorry, I'm at 17K.
Hello.
People must hear from me.
But they were statistically, bisexual people are the largest group in the queer community that's scared to come out, and the
Jesus
suicide rates are the high. And I'm like, you have got to, and I mean this, take a walk and
Go
fucking
touch
breathe
grass.
some air.
Go
Touch grass.
Go touch grass.
Y'all are losing the fucking plot.
Yes.
Statistically.
I feel like the internet in general has lost the plot, so to speak, on like just gentle ribbing or like joking.
Yeah.
I feel like culture, I think a lot of us grew up in a time where like you could be horrifically cruel to people publicly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we've swung away from
that
that.
away, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we need to be like
Because like
doing
calling
that.
Britney Spears fat and like that was too much.
Yeah, I mean, I
But-
remember there was a game on E-Bombs World where you could throw knives at Britney Spears.
Yeah, we don't need
and
that.
If you hit her in the boob, her implant would fall out. So we don't need
We can
that.
let that go.
We can
We
kind of
let
let
it
that
go,
go.
yeah.
But I feel like things that sometimes swing so far in the other direction that you can't like just be a
No
little.
one can make jokes
be
anymore.
like a little snarky.
Also, here's the real tea.
The tea.
I check in on my haters sometimes. I see what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every single person that I saw, now I couldn't keep track, it got pretty big, but almost every single person who got mad at me about that joke,
White bisexual woman with
bi
a boyfriend.
woman with a boyfriend. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
I
the
knew-
proof is in the pudding, honey. I don't know.
I mean, hey, and listen. I'll say this. as someone who's bypassing, who gets booked on queer shows, and then I have to let people know. One time I went to a show and I was booked, and then I'm like, hey, just so you know, like you know, I'm not queer, and they're like, are you sure your boots are pretty queer? And I'm like, I live in Bushwick.
Yeah.
But also like half of the jokes too, just also like growing up, I have a crazy background, but like fag hag jokes, like that is part of my culture. There's always a fat fag hag
Come on.
all around, and that's like part of it, and like that's what it is, you know what I mean?
Also, I think culturally we're in like a real tricky moment right now where everybody wants the wrong thing from the wrong people. They want their politicians to be funny. They want their comedians to be earnest. They want their musicians to be like, nobody, like when comedians are funny now, they're like, wow, the fact that you're not posting every single day about this horrific thing going on in the world, whatever it is, by the way, there's a million of them. It's like, yeah, I don't really know what y'all expected from me, but I've been pretty clear about the fact that I'm a comedian. I don't mind being earnest. I do use my platform when I think it's appropriate, but it's like, do y'all want me to just never tell a joke?
Well,
Yeah.
that's what these people, I feel like we've definitely felt that with at our former like company. We did a news and politics podcast, but at the end of the day, we're comedians, and it's like, why do you want us to talk about this flood?
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
was bad. I'm really sad about it.
We're sad people lost their homes, but
yeah, it was kind of part of the reason why we wanted to create a podcast where we could talk about just like dumb internet stuff.
Yeah.
You guys are like destroy the community with a flood the house down boots.
Yeah.
You guys are trying to.
But yeah, that's so funny. That's like no one wants what people are. Yeah, that no one wants the original.
Yeah,
thing.
I think that people try to like lash out at the people they actually feel like could read their comment, and
Right.
it's like, you know, Joe Biden isn't gonna read your comment, so they're gonna stitch Caleb Hearon and be like, actually, blah blah blah. You
Also,
know?
people are legitimately trading in. Although, you know, there's like much uproar right now about like oppression Olympics or whatever. I don't have any interest in talking about that, but there is a legitimate conversation I think to be had about people trading, especially people with privilege. The bisexual thing is a great example of like white women have a lot of privilege in this society. White women also have a lot of issues by virtue of being women in a misogynistic society.
Yeah.
I'm not erasing that. I'm not a fucking moron.
No.
However, people with privilege are, because they want to feel connected to oppressed people, because they want to feel like good whites.
Hang on to marginalized identities.
They clue into any fucking thing they can to feel oppressed, and it's like, you actually don't have to do that to be a good ally. Mm-hmm. You can just relax a little bit.
I think we can all relax a little bit.
Well, not me. I'm perfect.
No,
but...
and that will be like the overarching theme of today is that we're perfect.
We're good.
We're doing exactly great. We're posting everything that's the right thing to be posted at the exact right time. And our voice is needed on every topic.
I do think there's a time and a place to apologize for a joke. Like, I have definitely taken feedback immediately. Like, I think one time on Twitter I posted like I shared like a Dr. Umar clip, and a bunch of my black followers were immediately like, not your place. And I was like, super cool. Delete. You know what I mean? Like,
also, it's funny. Also, he's crazy.
I watch everything he posts, but I was like, hey,
we have to do an episode, a deep dive on Dr. Umar.
That I know nothing about. And
Wow.
You don't know
I would
Dr.
love
Umar?
to- No,
You
and
don't
I
know
would love-
Dr. You've seen the clip.
I'm
I
sure-
beg your
I'm
pardon?
Sure
I beg
I'm
you-
sure that I've seen the
You've
clip.
seen the clips. This guy's, but yeah, no, I could see that, and yeah, like that also is a whole other part of that, like the plot gets lost on the internet, is the amount like being able to give grace and have like nuance and grace and like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that, but like it's just this whole gotcha thing that it's really like exhausting. It's just
Yeah.
well.
Ultimate bad faith readings, all of that
Ultimate
stuff.
bad faith. Everything's bad faith. And this ties in perfectly to our discourse.
Wow.
discourse.
Today. So the discourse is the segment of the show where we just break down one of the biggest discussions people are having.
Mm-hmm.
And our topic today is extremely contentious,
Wow.
political,
Wow.
divisive.
Yeah. The
And
flood.
Yeah. The
flood.
flood.
Fun. And it's about food, guys, and specifically DoorDash.
Wow.
Oh God.
Caleb got up and
Oh,
left.
God.
Caleb's leaving.
Y'all, this was so much fun. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you guys.
Okay. So on March 8th, User at Zaganel85 tweeted, "The cost of a bacon cheeseburger at the local Five Guys is over $15 in Biden's America." And then he put source Uber Eats. And then in here you see, right, one bacon cheeseburger is $15.83. And then little fries are $6.23, and a Diet Coke bottle is $4.07. Subtotal $26.13. Delivery fee $1.49. Taxes and other fees $7.48, and the total comes out to $35.10. So this is what he's saying. So Zaganel says it's about $30 subtotal for a bacon cheeseburger, fries, and Coke at a fast casual place, not a real restaurant. That's a bit much, no matter how well adjusted you are. And this seems to be echoing a phenomenon that we're seeing a lot. It's a discussion that people are having amongst inflation and the economy, which is like the price point for fast casual or / mid-level restaurants has gotten so expensive, it almost makes no sense to eat there, like to visit them anymore. So it's like people will go to the fast food places, and even fast food places, people are making the argument that like now a Big Mac meal at McDonald's is costing close to $20.
Wow.
So, people are, but the argument is even worse for like the mid-level fast casual places. So people right now are only visiting either the cheapest fast food places or really nice expensive restaurants because of whatever. And people are tying this to Joe Biden's economic policies. Do you think this is Joe Biden's fault?
Caleb?
No. What's your economic take?
No. First of all, I don't care about the economy. I don't know about it. I don't understand how it works. I think rich people invented it to confuse us. But here's what I'll say. The core issue of all of this, the people posting about groceries getting so expensive, gas getting so expensive, jobs aren't paying well, benefits aren't right, all these things, looking at Joe Biden, looking at Trump, looking at whoever, they're not equal. Obviously, I voted for Biden. I'm a huge leftist, and we'll see if I do it again. But it's the billionaires, y'all. It's the fucking business owners. It's the profiteering fucking ruling class, and we legitimately we need to start dealing with some of them. And I have an idea, but I don't think I can say it on the air.
No, but
I just don't. I think that it is one of those situations where it's like this would be happening no matter who. Anyone who's like who we elect that is in service to the system. We're going to be having these $35 burgers. Whatever.
And I mean, I think this goes back to a few weeks ago in when we were talking about price gouging and how Kellogg's like raised the prices of their cereal by 28% just because they could, just to get a higher profit margin.
Yeah, it's one of those places where it's actually true, kind of, that it doesn't matter who's in office.
Well,
that's one of them. I also I really think that this would all be solved. The is it Biden? Is it this, that? Elected officials should be like chosen from a lottery. Regular people, like a nurse in Iowa, should be chosen as president for 4 years, sent there to do it, and then not allowed to have another term, sent back to nursing in Iowa. I think every senator, every congressperson, they should all just be like selected from the fucking lottery. Yeah. If you're a billionaire,
like jury duty situation.
Exactly correct. If you run Boeing and you get selected to be a congressperson for 2 years, tough luck. It's your time. Like, it's what. Or if you're a fucking farmer, like, and we pay them, we take care of whatever. But I'm like, any psychopath who wants to be in office doesn't actually care about the price of food for their constituents.
Or
I just don't think.
They become so divorced from the price of food very quickly. I think we have like some good people in Congress.
Yeah, and I will say, like, as somebody who, in our previous tenure, we interviewed some politicians, and when I, like Julian Castro, and some local, I'm like, oh, I get, like, there is a charisma and there is something to be able to break down complicated things like that. I'm like, oh yeah, like I could see the politician, like why people like certain politicians, but you're right. Like the standing, getting divorced from reality and all of that, like is not helpful for the long term.
Yeah.
For elected officials.
And also the Castro brothers are a great example, right? I've known those guys since like 2013 when I was like Young Dems, like college caucus chair, back when I worked in politics. They were making such an outsized impact in San Antonio. we needed them there.
Yeah.
Like, I just think people who go on to the national level with these national aspirations, I'm like, the real place to make change is at the
Local
state
level.
and local level. And so the people who aspire to leave that behind and then go on and serve at the national level, I'm like, that is the exact instant where ego takes over care for your community.
Yeah.
So real.
So
real.
But in my opinion, no, Joe Biden is not price fixing the burgers at Five Guys.
No.
Okay, well, let's talk about the backlash to this thing. So
Incredible.
naturally, there's a backlash about this because the
Backlash to a screenshot of a receipt. Let's
Yeah,
just
to a
talk
screenshot
about
of a
like
receipt.
let's just zoom out for a second.
Yeah.
That someone posted a screenshot of a receipt.
said it was Joe Biden's fault, and
And
then
now-
people are like, "Look, this is somebody said like a screenshot of a receipt to DoorDash and Uber Eats is not an indicator of the economy because DoorDash and Uber Eats and any delivery service is a luxury service. It's not something that's a necessity. That is the one aspect of the backlash. And another part of the backlash is this series of tweets. Like, a lot of people are making it, but I feel like these tweets. Okay. DoorDash has, this is by @Annie notation. So it's like Ann notation. But Ann,
Cute.
yeah,
Cute Annie notation.
and notation. It says DoorDash has for many people become a substitute for frozen meals despite being less convenient and radically more expensive. And a lot of frozen meals taste fine. Plenty of chain restaurants are actually serving that. You can get a Stouffer's or whatever or a Marie Calendar thingy and it's still like $4 and you can heat it up literally wherever. This Marie Calendar pot pie is a delicious dinner and it's $3.48. It's a reasonable price for something that requires no more work than filling out the DoorDash thingy. So those are the like two backlash points, right? Is that one, DoorDash is a luxury service. So you can't base, it's like basing a private jet price on like an indicator of the economy. And two, that like people are ordering DoorDash in like place of frozen food options. So my question is, what do you think? Is frozen food a good alternative to DoorDash? And kind of in your sense too, because this was another discussion, it was like, what kind of food makes sense being delivered and what kind of food makes sense like getting frozen?
I think if you want to have something delivered to your house, you can order it and have it delivered, and that's you following your heart. Like, I don't feel one way or another about different types of cuisine to be delivered. I guess DoorDash is a luxury item in the sense that like you're using your expendable cash to have something brought to you, but I also feel like it's a loose use of the word luxury. Like, I think that DoorDash is something that is like reasonably within people's budgets and they make room for it in their budget because they like to DoorDash food and the food tastes better.
Well, so maybe luxury is the wrong word, but maybe like premium.
Yeah,
Is
premium.
premium I
maybe-
heard.
I think it's like an understandable frivolity. Like,
Yeah,
it's like being
yes.
a little frivolous, but like, okay, what's the point of being alive if I can't be a little frivolous?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
why? Okay, I want ramen from Ichiran brought to me. I
Yeah.
want it brought to me.
Yeah.
I have the money in my account. Is it the most wise financial decision for me to make? Usually 9 times out of 10, no, it's not. But I'm allowed to do. I think premium is better. Like luxury.
Premium,
to me,
yeah.
I'm just
Luxury
like,
maybe luxury is not the right word, but it's a premium service. It's not something, it's not like a necessity.
I personally do not need to receive DoorDash, but I don't know. I feel like sometimes the way people talk about getting food delivery online, it's almost like this way the right will talk about things where like the only good poor person is someone who lives in absolute austerity and never
use your food stamps.
Yeah,
for steak.
exactly. Oh, well, you have a television, like, and it's like, oh, well. Like, it's just this very weird thing where it's like, I don't know, somebody can be broke and also put a little money away for DoorDash. It's not like,
Yeah, I guess like what people were calling out too is that some people use DoorDash to get like a bagel. And it's like, maybe you should just buy a pack of bagels. And I mean, for me specifically, something that prompted why I like asked the question is because like people ordering French fries. Like, that was a thing. Like, ordering French fries on DoorDash is like, is it better just to get frozen fries and then put them in the air fryer, which fucking slaps? Like, that was something that was like, oh, sometimes it does. But yeah, like,
it is if you want to save money, but it's that I just feel like if the person wants to order fries, then God bless.
Yeah, I feel like I don't give a fuck. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I can't believe these people give a fuck. I will say that I had two thoughts about it. The about it being like the person that was like, oh, it's just as good to get a frozen meal. I'm like, if you think of Marie calendars, by the way, those can fucking bang.
Yeah.
The frozen food items from Trader Joe's, I will go crazy
Trader
on that
Joe's
shit.
frozen food. That's exactly what I was thinking.
It goes in, but if you think that that's always going to hit as much as having like McDonald's delivered at midnight when you get home from the bar,
no,
it doesn't. Sometimes you want a fucking hot cheeseburger delivered to your house and you don't want to have to like get a frozen patty out of
No.
So sometimes delivery hits way more than frozen stuff. And also laziness is allowed. I'm allowed to be lazy if I want to. I'm a fucking grown adult who works hard for my money.
Yeah.
But the thing I was thinking about the bagel and the coffee delivery aspect of it, that I saw some of it. I didn't see much of this because I think it mostly played out on Twitter, and I am gone. But
good for you.
Some people had like sent me links in group chats and stuff, and I read a little bit of it. The thing it reminded me of, and I forget who, maybe it was like Bukowski or some like writer wrote this. You guys know the envelope analogy?
No.
I forget, and I'm probably butchering it. I forget which person this was. But maybe we can Google it. But there was a guy who basically he was talking to his wife and he was like, I'm going out to get an envelope. And she was like, why don't you buy a big package of envelopes so you don't have to go out for an envelope every day? And basically he was like, I love my little journey to go out and get an envelope every time I need one. And I feel that way about bagel and coffee, where I go, if you want to order a bagel and coffee to your house, delivery, I have no judgment for that. Go fucking nuts. But I do think as a bigger conversation about happiness and loneliness that's going on in society right now, and connection and like community, these little things that we do, these little like rituals that we are eliminating with tech and AI and like all these like automations, they are contributing to people's feeling of like loneliness and isolatedness.
Yeah.
So I would say order the bagel and coffee if you need to. Sometimes I've had like a Zoom meeting that started right at 9 a.m. and I didn't have time to get up and go get a coffee because I woke up late. I ordered Starbucks to the house. I have done that out of necessity a few times. But I would say if you're somebody who's struggling with like loneliness or feeling connected to your community or even just like depression, I would maybe get up and walk to get that fucking coffee and bagel and go talk to the person behind the counter and become a regular.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing too. And I guess in defense of annotation is that it's because I feel the same way. I feel like if somebody wants to order DoorDash, go fucking ahead.
Like, this is a tipped service. It's understood as a tipped service.
Also, dude, I drove for Uber Eats for between like in 2020, before I got like my first writing job, I was driving for Uber Eats as like my full-time income for a little bit during COVID. And the number of people who lived in like poor neighborhoods or places that were like apartments that you would go, oh, this person's probably in the same income bracket as me because I was very poor at the time. They always tipped at least something. People who lived in fucking high rises and ordered $200, $300, $400 of DoorDash or Uber Eats, legitimately the tips would be maybe $5 if anything at all. Insane. I got stiffed by rich people on bills that were so massive. And the thing is, I was doing this in Chicago and LA, but Chicago was so hard because I would go downtown, there'd be nowhere to park. So I'm parking illegally with my flashers on because they're messaging me being like, where is it? And I'm like, sorry, the restaurant was late. I'm risking a massive ticket and getting towed. I'm running up the elevator to bring it to your door and you're tipping me $2.50.
Yeah, no, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing of like, okay, I'm going to do an analogy of like my nails. I like to have my nails done. I like that. It's expensive. I can get press-ons. I can do my own nails, but I'm choosing, again, it's a premium service to go to someone and get your nails done and have a design and all that shit. I have to tip. I can't be like, oh, nails have gone up now, which is what people have been saying. Like, nails have gone up, or like, I'm not tipping that, whatever, this and that. It's just like, dog, like, that's what you got to do to get whatever. Okay, so now let's go to backlash to the backlash.
An iconic
Which is our
part
favorite.
of
Backlash
any...
to Squeakquel, Backlash Part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Backlash Electric Boogaloo. So many people say that they DoorDash because they are disabled. And just writing off DoorDash completely is ableist and erasing their needs. A common argument I heard, something that people, in the discourse, this got really out of hand, right?
Yeah.
The original tweet was from 2 weeks ago. People are still talking about this to this day. And again, when people were like, why the fuck would you DoorDash? DoorDash is not a necessity. And other people are like, I need DoorDash. I'm disabled. And one argument to that was like, how many people are too disabled to make frozen food, but earn enough to DoorDash every meal? And I was just thinking about that, right? And then like I was kind of like trying to wrap my head around that. The conversation with like the majority of DoorDash, like the DoorDash ableist conversation, that's just a very like common thing that happens in online is that everything goes to like this is ableist thing. But there were some tweets that gave me insight into the experience, right? So Jacqueline Foster, J_N_Foster, tweeted a thread that was really thing that says like, this is kind of my experience. I have my Gallic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, and just discuss what it was like when they have a flare up. It's really hard for them to even like go to the door and all that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, and then they make enough money that it doesn't impact them to order DoorDash. So I was like, oh, okay, this is one end of the spectrum of like, yeah, like I can wrap my head around this, like, cool. And then there was this response by Max Bedroom. He says, as someone who regularly eats microwave frozen meals, I can tell you it involves much more than just taking something out of the freezer and putting it in the microwave for a few minutes. There's getting the box open firstly, which is often harder than it should be, and someone with hand pain or dexterity issues may not be able to get past that step. Then there's reading and understanding the directions, which, especially when I'm tired, is difficult enough for me. Usually the directions include things like puncturing a plastic cover or peeling it partially or completely back, or puncturing it and then microwaving it a bit and then peeling and then stirring, or all of the food and then more microwaving. So these were the two disparate things of like, microwaving is too hard, and then also as a disabled person, this is what a flare-up looks like, so I can understand why people DoorDash.
This feels like the part of the discourse that just, and this is not to invalidate the segment, but this is the part of the discourse that begs that time-tested classic internet question of who gives a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if you are genuinely if you are disabled to an extent that you have a hard time making a frozen meal and you need to order DoorDash or whatever the circumstance is. Fucking rock on, dude.
Order.
Yeah. I don't
Order
give
away.
a fuck what you do.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm like, why do people want to? Because here's the thing that bothers me is, can I honestly fathom being disabled in a way where I can't manage microwaving a meal? No, I have never lived that experience. I cannot fathom how difficult that would be. But the people who read that online and feel the need to rip into it and act like this person's making it up, first of all, if they are making it up, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
And second of all, isn't it possible that that's just a really unfortunate fact from their experience, and then it just comes back to who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Unless you need my help. If you need my help, then I give a fuck. If I was your neighbor and you were like, hey, can you come over tonight and microwave this meal for me? I'd be like, hell yeah, brother. But other than that, I could not possibly give a fuck.
Sometimes shit doesn't apply to you, you know? I'm like, was this what people were talking about in the beginning? Like, how did we get here?
Every post you feel like has to uniquely apply to you, and the internet is this place where anyone can add their voice to a conversation. So it's like, well, every single person I think feels compelled to add their unique experience. If people were online being like, there's no reason to order DoorDash, everyone who orders DoorDash is a rich asshole, I would understand.
And some people were doing that.
Yeah,
but
and
like,
that's not true. Again, and that again is to me like that weird right wing thing of like, in order to deserve sympathy of any kind, you have to live in complete austerity or whatever. But yeah, the initial conversation was just about whether or not DoorDash or whether or not burgers are expensive. I do feel like it's indicative of the economy and that everything is more expensive, even premium services.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think, Milly, you brought up a really good point of this might not apply to you. I feel like the number of times, and it's partially because success on the internet is about being relatable, right? So you write everything as if it might relate to everybody.
Yeah.
But like, even when I say, I've said things similar to what I said a moment ago about like, if you're struggling with depression, walk to the coffee shop, get to know your barista, pick up a
Yeah.
bagel in person. The walk will help, the community will help, etc. When I say anything like that, or any number of things that are about anything in the world, there will be people that hop in and go, nice, so what about people who can't walk? And I'm like, right, so maybe I wasn't fucking talking about you, and maybe
Yeah.
you're going to have to find a different solution to the problem.
Yeah.
I'm giving my solution for somebody who has my experience of being able to,
Yeah.
and that applies to like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not always about you specifically. I'm sorry you have a unique, horrible kind of like take on this one thing I'm talking about that doesn't work for you, but that's like your deal.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that is like, this is why like this thing, like, do I actually care about DoorDash? Like, no, but it is so indicative and so symbolic of the kind of conversations that happen where it just goes in all these different directions and people are like, no, but what about my specific situation? How come you're not considering that? And you're a bad person for not. And it's just like,
I also
you know?
feel like it's a conversation that went in so many different directions of people assuming the worst about everybody and just being like the least generous version of absolutely everything, like on every single side, where it's like, just let people order fucking DoorDash for whatever reason they want to order DoorDash. I don't care if you like frozen meals, don't like frozen meals, want to make it, don't want to make it. Sometimes I order DoorDash because I'm just like really fucking tired.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny though? Legitimately what you just described is the exact reason I got off of Twitter.
Yeah.
It is and by the way, the genuine, I pop on Twitter once every couple weeks to post a show link or something, because I do just unfortunately have it's like a big newsletter at this point. But I don't read it anymore. I don't post jokes on there
It's
anymore.
hard, yeah.
And the reasons are many, but the outcome has been that I genuinely like people more.
Yeah.
I don't think about people as negatively as I used to. I don't feel as embattled as I used to. I legitimately was getting to a point with the internet and this phenomenon of everyone being so intense and ill-intentioned and bad faith readings that I started to like dislike people. Like humans as a general, I'd be like, if I don't know someone, I would look at someone and just based on like what they were wearing or something, I'd be like, oh, this is the kind of person on Twitter who would say this. But you can't help it because it is your entire experience when you're online, especially if you have a platform. And it's fine. I asked for that. Like I asked for a platform. I got it. That's a result of it. But the consequence of it was that, yeah, I just didn't like people as much. And getting off, I feel I'm a lot happier, and I think less negatively about other people.
Yeah, I will look at Twitter via our Go Touch Grass Twitter, but I also left, and I do feel like it had a similar effect of like just not having to see as much rage bait, because I do think that Twitter like leans toward that too.
Yeah.
So like someone who's saying just the most out of pocket ridiculous thing that in real life they would just say in a room and people would go whatever and like walk away is now something that I'm like, people go, oh my god, do you remember when she said that? That's so crazy. But that would just fade into the ether now is like being served to me. And then I got into this place with Twitter where like I would see a like rage baity post and then I would look at the comments and piss myself off reading the replies and stuff like that. And I was like, why am I seeking out this kind of like negative emotional flair? And that's why I ended up leaving.
Well, I'm still there. I'm
and
not
it's important.
leaving.
And it
I'm
is important that
staying.
Milly's still
and
there.
that's how we got our grass hole last week, which
Yeah.
was the Barb that flew to Arizona to fight an Ariana Grande stan.
Mm-hmm.
Obsessed. And thank you for your service, by the way, Milly.
Some people
I'm
have to be
still
on there
here.
to see what's happening.
Well, and I'm still on there, but I totally get what you guys are saying. And yes, but I am going to keep reading some bad faith.
I'm
tweets
not.
right now.
I'm not saying. By the way, I think there are plenty of people who, and I, by the way, handled it for a very long time. There was a very long time where being on Twitter didn't really affect me that much. I didn't mind what people were saying about me or the world. Something switched for me, and so I left. But there are plenty of people who are doing fine with it. I'm not saying it's a universal experience.
Yeah.
you know what's wild? Do either of you look at Threads?
No, because it's giving. We talked about it. It's giving like LinkedIn.
It's
and
LinkedIn, Twitter together in the
nerds.
worst
It's
way
like
possible.
dweebs.
It is
It's the dweebiest
dorks
people,
yelling
yeah.
at each other.
It is dorky.
Unbelievable. What I look at Threads and it is, when I tell you, it is literally Twitter but without any of the jokes. So it is just people being like, as a social media manager, it is, and like
Yuck.
getting into fights about like the.
Yeah.
Or like a black and white picture that's like in 1953 this man disappeared. And then it's like a big long story.
Yeah, but then like a bunch of people going, actually that's factually inaccurate. Blah blah blah. I'm a historian. And it is truly Threads is whatever they were trying to do over there. What it is dorks yelling at each other, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, because I'm like, black people are still on Twitter, so that's why it's still fun. But black
Twitter
people are still on
jokes,
Facebook,
though.
and it's really fun. You know that there's before we keep going with this, I'm like, there's like a bad BBL Chicago Facebook group where it's just pictures of people's bad BBLs.
That's very
and
special.
Like, there's all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, there's just cool shit happening.
Yeah, that is really cool.
There's cool shit happening.
That's some pretty cool shit.
Yeah, that's some cool shit. Or just like very niche, like whatever, and like, I don't know. There's still some fun conversations that are being had on these things where I don't feel like I'm ready to give it up yet. But yeah, it did turn like, now Twitter has stopped being like, there was a moment where everyone's like, I'm gonna leave this place. Now everyone there's like, we're staying.
Wait, yeah, the people who are here are the ones who stayed.
We're the ones who stayed. We're not gonna complain, but it is bad.
The jokes are much better on Twitter. There's not one funny thing being said on Threads.
Well,
unless someone posted it on Twitter and then also posted it on Threads, because that's what they're doing. But there's not one joke being made on Threads.
It's just better for jokes too. But okay. So backlash to the backlash to the backlash. Backlash to the backlash to the backlash. Yes. If you're somebody to Mac's bedroom, somebody replied, if you find microwaving a meal this difficult, you generally need to be under some sort of supervised care. And
I'm sure that was received well.
that was
Wait, and so did everyone just like that and take it as a nice thing, or
yeah.
was it meant to be nice? Was it taken that way? What happened?
What was the assumed tone on that one?
Somebody replied. This one is at Cartoons Hate Her. It says, I feel like I'm not qualified to say anything, but it's bizarre how every time I see a documentary about someone with no hands or whatever, they're extremely proud of living independently, playing sports, etc. And then someone with ADHD or some people with ADHD are like, I can't pick up a napkin.
Don't get me started, y'all. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. And then somebody replied to that and said, as a disabled person, something is missing from this narrative. If someone is disabled and can't perform activities / daily living, meal prep, eating, cleaning, why doesn't this person have in-home service supportive services? We should be encouraging them to apply for IHSS. And then Cartoons Hater replied, yeah, I don't even mean this in a derogatory way. People should have government-sponsored help if it's truly at a point where microwave something isn't possible.
I mean, agreed.
Yeah. But also the ADHD can't even pick up a napkin thing.
As a member of the ADHD community, I will say that sometimes the ADHD discourse on Twitter makes me laugh a lot.
Dude, it constantly pops into my head that I love a lot of people with ADHD and have to deal with some of their little tricks and tools to get through, like, going to the grocery store. But there's that one tweet that's like, someone tweeted like, when are we ever going to have the conversation about how hard the Halloween season is for people with ADHD and picking out a costume? And it got quote tweeted and someone said, is there anything you people can do? And I was like, yo, that is how it feels sometimes.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of tweets specifically about like, well, heard that saying don't DoorDash is misogynist and ableist now. Like, it's all that.
It is just like literally any conversation. We keep using the term bad faith, but it's like any conversation you can find the way to be like, actually, women have to DoorDash because after a certain hour, it is not as safe for us to be out, and so we must DoorDash. Like, you can give me one, and I'll tell you how it's what thing.
And we're
you want it to be.
Elise is diagnosed. I'm not diagnosed, but I know I have ADHD. Somebody did our podcast, and then later said there was ADHD in the room,
and they were correct.
Is the ADHD in the room with us now? And yes.
And I will say, one time I was online and people were, there was a discourse happening around whether or not you should keep vegetables in like the side door which is an ADHD hack that I do because then I don't forget that the vegetables
Yeah,
are there and
I
I
have to
actually
do
use
that.
them. And there were people being like, "That's disgusting. You shouldn't use your vegetables in the side door." And did I feel the desire within me to say, "Actually, I have ADHD, and I would be wasting my vegetables if I didn't keep them in the side door." Yes, I did feel that, but I let it pass me, and
Yeah,
I
you let it
moved on
pass.
with my life. I did not engage in the side door discourse, but I will say if anyone listening with ADHD is constantly forgetting about their vegetables, you can put it in the side door,
I might do that.
and then you'll see the vegetables, and you'll
Put
remember
it-
that
y'all,
you
you
have
can
them.
put it in the side door.
You
Put it in the
can.
side
Some
door.
people
No
will say
worries.
that it's not the best for refrigeration, but you know what? You're eating the vegetables.
You're eating
You're
the
actually
vegetables.
eating the vegetables.
There is also something to be said about the person who replied, do I really want to be on their side or have a stake in this argument? No. But the person who replied that, like, people who have lost a leg that pride themselves on climbing mountains, or people who have, a much less severe situation choosing to constantly engage in like a sort of sympathy seeking behavior about the fact that they have, ADHD or something, that disparity, it's not always, I don't think it's always useful to talk, like, I don't think it's always useful to compare people's situations. And in fact, most time it's not. But there is something, I think, small, at least in one of these conversations somewhere, to be said about trying to be happy and just trying to be happy. Like, I feel like a lot of the stuff on the internet that gets to me is like, I'm not saying that you can't microwave a meal. I'm not saying that you can't climb the mountain. I'm not saying you can't play basketball or chop the onions with your feet or whatever the fuck people are doing. I'm just saying there oftentimes the difference between people being happy and not being happy to me is, are they even trying?
Well, and we've talked about this a lot. This was a really difficult lesson I had to learn as an adult. I grew up, my parents are practicing Buddhist. I grew up Buddhist, and kind of the core philosophy is that kind of the goal in life is to be happy and to try to work through your problems and overcome your obstacles and be happy. And I think, again, one of the hardest lessons I had to learn is that some people don't want to be happy. Some people want to be miserable for their whole lives. And some people don't want to take because being happy means that you have to take responsibility for a lot of your shit, and you have to work on your shit and actively, it's a practice. You have to actively do things to make yourself happy or see the good things in the situation or be optimistic. And it's really hard for people, and people don't want to do that. And that was a really hard pill to swallow of oh, you just don't want to do anything that's going to make you feel better.
Because also, by the way, I say this as someone who's been there. When I was at my most depressed in my early 20s and fully S-word,
Sexual?
Right, yeah, sexual. Yeah. It rhymes with mua nidal.
Yeah. This isn't TikTok. You can say suicide.
No. But when I was fully suicidal and at my worst mental health wise, I was in that position where I was I didn't want to be happy. There was a part of me that I let my depression completely overtake me. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the fact that being depressed was a sort of get out of jail free card, that I got to do whatever negative thing I wanted. I got to eat garbage food at every hour of the day. I got to never go on that annoying mid-afternoon mental health walk. I got to never reach out to an old friend and go to that lunch that I'm going to have to shower for. There was a real bliss in letting my depression take over. And I'm not saying that everyone should just pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but I'm saying take it if it helps, leave it if it doesn't. There is a certain element of being happy that is just you making up your mind to do the unfortunately necessary things to make yourself happy.
Well,
yeah.
And there you go. Well, just one more little tweet before we get final thoughts on this that I thought was really interesting. And this was from Avery Edison. And it says, quote, "Why are people so weird about DoorDash? Because it's exploitation. The business model does not..." I was
wondering when we would get here.
The business model does not function without massively underpaying workers, most of whom live in poverty. Habituating yourself to using DoorDash is a moral sickness. Quote,
moral sickness? I'm so sorry. That is the most internet shit ever. Using DoorDash is a moral sickness.
We have one more. Quote, "Maybe heat up some frozen food instead of getting delivery." Unquote. Being met with, quote, "So you want me to die?" which is a real thing people said this week, should indicate which side of this debate, quote unquote, has the seriousness and clarity here.
I'm sorry, but it's I agree with that person, and also you can't say that getting DoorDash is a moral sickness and have me take you serious. I'm so sorry. This grandiose shit that people do online drives me fucking crazy. You can say Yeah, DoorDash again is a premium service, and it would be it should probably cost more because the workers aren't paid appropriately. Sure, but to be like getting food delivery is a moral sickness is as insane as saying if you don't let me get food delivery, I will die.
Yeah.
I'll take it a step further. The person who said this, the moral sickness tweet, they're a fucking idiot. Like, because here's the deal. Are they wrong about the reason that DoorDash functions and people consider it evil is because it is evil? No, they're not. But they are operating on a like freshman year of college understanding of the world. It's like basically what you just tweeted is capitalism is bad. Oh my God, thank you, babe. Like, can you go a little deeper on that? Like, can you move past that? The rest of us are actually moved on to like deeper discussions about how to make things better.
Yeah.
You're giving us like this like freshman at like a fucking liberal arts school in the Northeast take on like actually workers are underpaid because the rich people want the money. It's like, yeah, dumbass, we know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what me and Alise have talked about that a lot, and that shit performs well online, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's these people who have like the stupidest, most like base level takes about like capitalism sucks.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about how like even how much free time you have is also kind of labor? I'm like, okay, whatever.
But they'll get on there and be like, do you guys ever think that like straight men literally don't even enjoy women? It's like, right, please catch up.
Yeah.
We're already there. We already know they're kind of gay.
And maybe this comes...
We already know they're kind of gay. I've dated all of them. It's fine.
And maybe this comes down to just the fact that we've talked a bunch of times about like the generations, like we have had the conversation, but maybe this tweet is like, maybe this person's like 19 and it is really just occurring to them.
I am almost willing to put money on the fact that they're under 30.
Well, and that's what we said. We said that Twitter would be better if we could get like a
age siloed,
or like warning, this person lives in the suburbs, or like
warning, this is a 19-year-old.
This is a 19-year-old person.
And they did most of their school on Zoom.
By the way, Microsoft Teams graduation.
That's why when people do that, when queer people, and it's a read, and I think it's funny, but when people do the queer read of like, I am a non-binary ADHD person who suffers from depression, who works at a coffee shop that has, I'm like, drag them all you want, and it is funny at a certain point, but I know exactly where the fuck they're coming from, and it does contextualize their takes to me.
Yeah.
Where I go, oh, you're 19, queer, and live in Portland? Yeah,
Great.
I don't have to pay a ton of attention to what you choose.
That's what, no. But that's like kind of, that's what Reddit really got well. Is like
you
when
had the flair.
When they do the Am I the Asshole? It's like, hi, 28-year-old male, my 16-year-old girlfriend. And you're like, oh,
okay.
Got it.
Absolutely.
I checked in. Or like when I see I Am the Assholes and they're like 19-year-old female, I'm like, okay, well, not really gonna like.
You might not be an asshole, you might just be 19.
Yeah. Well, and I was just one more thing was I was talking to my friend and he was like, God, like dating in New York's so hard. Like this girl, she doesn't know what she wants and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then he was just saying all this shit. And I'm like, how old was she? And he's like, oh, she was like 23. And I'm like, you need to start with that.
Yeah.
You need to start with that. So then I know.
It has to be disclosed.
It needs to be disclosed. I'm sorry. Don't know my age, but everyone, I need to know everyone else's.
I'm 23. And I have ADHD.
Yeah. And I'm squeal as an Afro-Latina who's...
By the way, you just dragged the hell out of me because I'm the first 29-year-old guy to sleep with a 24-year-old and be like, he doesn't know what he wants. And my friends definitely have to be like, yeah, he's 24.
Yeah, they're 24. They don't get it.
Got my ass, yeah.
The frontal lobe ain't developed yet. The frontal lobe is not.
All right. Should I move us on to our grass hole?
We should move on to our grass hole.
All right. This is our final segment where we declare the person who needs to log off the most. Okay. I think we said, basically everyone we just talked about needs to log off.
Everyone.
And every single person we've mentioned so far needs to log off. But this week's grass hole.
Bisexuals. I'm kidding.
We love
grass bisexuals, by the way.
It's a discourse, it's a question, it's a moral quandary that has been posed. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to, it's going to be one where we determine together, is the grass hole the royal palace or all of us? So, do you guys have like an initial reaction to royal palace or all of us, or do you want me to break it down first?
I feel like let's break it down because I have some thoughts.
I've got it, but I'm ready for the breakdown.
Yeah, okay. Hold on to it. Yeah. So, after weeks of online speculation, Kate Middleton revealed on Friday that she's been diagnosed with cancer and will be undergoing chemotherapy. we had talked earlier that week
had 2
prior.
episodes.
We talked about it on the Patreon, the entire Kate Middleton situation. We broke that down, and then we did an episode in the free feed about the cheating rumors.
Yeah.
We all know that the Kate Middleton, where's Kate, #KateGate, it was everywhere. It was all over the internet. So, since her revelation of what has actually been going on, 2 camps have emerged. One, which is like the palace-backed camp, is basically saying all of the speculation was completely disgusting about Kate. The internet bullied her into revealing her diagnosis. We are all assholes. Tons of articles have come out. There's one in The Atlantic that was just titled, "I hope you all feel terrible now." I'm ashamed to have reveled in Kate Middleton conspiracies, was in The Independent. Like, there was a bunch of different versions of that article, which basically said, like, the internet bullied Kate Middleton. Then there's the opposing viewpoint, which basically says, like, this is on the palace. They handled the PR of this situation in such a kind of weird, bungled, crazy way that it fueled the speculation, and what could have been a very, like, sympathetic moment for Kate ended up being this crazy situation in which, cheating rumors about her husband were brought back up. Also, like, her life was being dissected massively. They also very famously put out that photoshopped picture and then had her take the fall for the photoshopped picture, which a lot of people are like, if you had her best interest at heart, that's crazy to try to put it on her. So key dates to be aware of is just like January 17th is the first time that Kensington Palace said anything. They announced Kate Middleton had undergone planned abdominal surgery. She was going to be in the hospital for 10 to 14 days. She was going to come back on March 31st. That stood until end of February, early March. That's when, like, this really picked up. The where is Kate thing started happening. They addressed it for a second time on February 29th, where they just said, Kensington Palace made it clear that in January, the timelines of the princess's recovery, and we'd only be providing significant updates. That guidance still stands. And then for there, we get the weird picture of her in the car, the Mother's Day AI Photoshop thing, Kate taking credit for that. And so basically, like, they, you know, there was like the video at her at the market. There was just all of the weird things that everyone has been dissecting in general. So that's kind of like one side of it. But then on the flip side, there were actual weird conspiracy theories being promoted about Kate Middleton. I wrote about one for Jezebel where a lady claimed to have her private cremation video, which is completely fucking insane. Insane thing to say that you have. And it was like a weird, shadowy, like Rorschach test video. Like you're deranged if you're saying that you have Kate Middleton's cremation video online for views.
I do regret posting that.
So you got on Twitter for that.
Yeah. It was Caleb who posted it from a burner.
I'm gonna shut it down. That was bad. That was bad of me.
And you know what? Glad that you came around to. You owned it.
Yeah.
You know, like you said you do.
I will.
Yeah.
At the exact same time, that same woman's husband, 2 people who paid for blue check marks, she's saying, I have Kate Middleton's cremation video. Her husband is saying, I have intelligence. I know for a fact that she's been committed to a mental institution. Okay. So there are people who are like legitimately spreading weird lies about this woman, which I think is separate from like people making BBL jokes, or maybe someone who posted a video about how maybe the royal family was subject to a diamond's curse, which
that was you. Yeah, that was you. And it
that
went
was
really
me.
viral.
It did. And someone did comment, this aged like milk, like 2 days ago. I was like, word. I will take responsibility for that milk.
No, fuck that.
So, and like even today, if you look at replies on her video, there are people who are like, this is actually AI. I don't believe it, blah, blah, blah. So, and there was also like, it came out that like a Russian bot driven conspiracy came around that like, and the Ukrainian embassy had to come out against, that Prince Charles was actually dead. There are people who thought they were moving behind an Arctic ice wall. Like the plot,
ice wall one was crazy.
The plot did get lost.
For sure.
amongst the where is Kate discussion. So that's kind of where the 2 camps lie. Mm-hmm. Where with that information.
Caleb is ready. Caleb is ready.
Nobody who asked questions about her whereabouts was wrong. Nobody should feel ashamed for speculating or joking. Everybody was right. The palace stoked weird confusion with that fucking Photoshop picture. Mm-hmm. They promoted it. They goaded it on. All of us responded normal. Well, okay. Everybody who was just asking normal questions and making jokes responded normally. People who were doing like real ice shelf conspiracies, they're fucking weirdos, but always would have been. The palace was wrong, and they're the grass hole.
And they're the grass hole. Is that where you stand?
I second that. I say that I have no regrets. All the jokes and everything that we were doing, like, it was in response to their weird shit. Not like if they posted this thing that was like, hey, she's sick. But they post, it's response in there, like, and again, like we said, it's the insulting thing of, like, they think everyone's a fucking idiot. And that we're not going to ask more questions or whatever. And that how dare, and now that whatever came out, it's like, how dare you? I hope you're happy, like, you're not entitled. And it's just like,
also, if this freak show of a fucking family wants privacy so bad, dissolve the monarchy and go live in silence.
Yeah, go.
Well,
I don't care about your privacy.
Go move to the beach, like fucking Meghan and Harry. Which, side note, there's like a whole
American Riviera.
American Riviera. There's a whole
Markle's
side group of people who are like somehow mad at Meghan Markle over this.
Well, people are racist.
I mean,
Racism exists, so people are always going to be mad at
what?
I know, Caleb. I'm sorry.
No.
I know you're as a queer comedian who eats at a coffee shop. You haven't heard of racism, but it does exist.
It
does exist. You're not listening to Dr. Umar jokes, apparently. I mean, not Dr. Umar videos, because you haven't.
I didn't. I thought he was kidding. I didn't know racism was really going on. That's horrible.
But yeah, American Riviera. Sorry, that is Meghan Markle's new trademark for her jam company.
Which she did, but which she released before we all knew the news.
Oh yeah, before we all knew the news.
Here's my thing about it, because I land where you guys land, which is that like the palace bungled the PR of this to such a degree, and like people were rightfully catching on that what they were saying was not true, and that is what fueled speculation. I do think there are people who lost the plot again to lie and say you have. Those are people who are, there's something else going on with them, and they do need to touch grass for a variety of reasons. Mm-hmm. But with the palace, it's like, you don't get to put this stuff out and be like, it's fine. It's fine. Nothing's going on. Nothing serious is happening, and it's fine. And we told you she'd be back in March. And then when we find out that something serious was happening, go, wow. There was something serious going on all along, and you made
I hope you're proud of yourselves.
Yeah, you made your little jokes, and you've disrespected the princess in the process. And it's like, if you guys had just said when the because their initial thing about the planned abdominal surgery, I think that's a normal message for them to have sent. But if they had just, when the speculation was coming out, said, recovery's taking a little bit, like the recovery's actually been kind of tough. Kate said something that acknowledged what was happening and gave a hint that it's like, she's sick, guys. Yeah. Let's chill out. It would have changed the game. But instead, they released obvious, weird lies that fueled the flames a million times. And also, my big question is like, number one, they probably could have just had, I said it on our Patreon a bunch of times, like a picture of Kate getting flowers from one of the kids in bed, and it's like, recovering. Whatever. Yeah. Something normal. They could have face-tuned it. Yeah. She would have looked fine. It's just not like obvious, like the image they put out. But also, I'm like, where the fuck was William in all of this? He could have made a statement at any time and been like, my wife is recovering. She sent me out here to say she's like, this is what's going on. We want privacy.
He's banging his mistress. He's busy with that. That's not over for me, by the
way.
Why
wasn't he sitting with her?
That's not over.
Chumley. Our girl Chumley. Why wasn't he sitting with her?
Yeah,
the fact that she did that video alone is crazy to me.
Yeah, the video, he should have sat with her in the video and held her hand, and they could have done it, but he's a little bitch.
If he had taken the lead on giving information
maybe he's finally getting
about
hair
this,
plugs, who knows?
Yeah, maybe. If he had taken the lead on giving information about this, I think it would have been a lot different, but instead it's like just weird cryptic tweets from the palace, fake fucking pictures, and then William going around not saying anything, like missing appointments and not missing appointments and then not saying anything. And it's like, he could have been the one to lead the discussion on this, and people would have been like, well, it's William and he's saying it, whatever. But they chose to be as weird as humanly possible about it. And don't tell me that you give a fuck about Kate Middleton when you're gonna have her when you're gonna blame your Photoshop shit on her.
The Photoshop was weird. They fumbled all of it. William could have done a better job. All of those motherfuckers could have done a better job. Camilla could have done some shit. They all fucking suck. I don't give a fuck about their privacy. Give me $50,000 off rip. I'll fucking do a better job than all these people for 2 weeks. I'll do it for 2 weeks. But
yeah, I can't be involved for longer than 2 weeks.
No, come on.
I have a
But
life.
I'm just like, don't blame us. It's just like it's like, I don't know. It's all fucking stupid, and it's all these stupid think pieces with all these terrible people. It's like we all had fun on the internet. Sometimes it's like people are gonna make jokes no matter what. So it's like not all bad faith. Even the jokes aren't bad faith. Also, William is not helping the cheating rumors either. Okay, because like you said, that shit's not over because it's like
he's cheating.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like this is not our fault. So
yeah, and it's also like some of the same publications that were like promoting their old articles about Chumley and being like just for like SEO purposes are now like, oh wow, we really blew it.
No,
and I'm like, you don't get to like
clicks.
play both sides of the entire thing, and it's just, I do feel like it comes down to what people have been saying the entire time, and what if you were actually listening to the conversation that people were having was like, this is a PR nightmare that was extremely bizarre and obvious to everyone that something was going on that wasn't being said, and then it turned out to be something sad.
And like we said, if you don't want to pay me $50,000, get Riley, the 23-year-old
crisis PR intern
for Tom Sandoval.
I'm sorry, she's not an intern. She is his crisis PR management. For Tom Sandoval, I think Riley could do a better job.
Riley could do a better job than whatever the fuck is going on.
Because this was crazy.
It's not our fault. Go Touch Grass still stands.
Okay, so we're declaring the grass hole is Kensington Palace.
Yeah.
Kensington Palace
we need
is
to go
this week's
hang out
grass
with
hole.
actual normal people. But then, they posted some like social media or some PR job very recently for the Palace, and they were paying fucking like, I saw it was like 30,000 pounds a year, which is close to like 40K maybe or something like that. It's just like, you're not paying people well either, dog. That's why you're fumbling.
That's why you got the B team, the C team even. Who thinks that like
you need some Olivia Pope money in there.
Yeah.
Olivia Pope would never. Now she'd be fucking Williams, but
we
wouldn't
the secrets would be kept, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. But Kate would not have had to say shit until she wanted to say.
Right, exactly. Correct.
She'd be fucking William the whole time in the palace in the office with Kate next door, but.
Secrets would be safe.
But the secrets would be safe with Olivia Pope.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so true.
Yeah, well.
That is so true. All right. I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. We went deep into many discourses today, friends.
We're going to be canceled by royalists, bisexuals, everybody who has
people who need DoorDash for whatever reason, people who don't need DoorDash.
Moral sickness.
But we will remain on the side of those with ADHD.
Yeah. Well, clearly from this episode, we are on the side of ADHD. Caleb, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
You guys can find me at Caleb Says Things absolutely everywhere. Please listen to my new podcast, So True with Caleb Hearon.
Amazing.
Preferably on YouTube, but also like and subscribe to it everywhere. And when does this episode come out?
On Wednesday.
Oh my God, come see me live on tour. I'm going to New York, DC, Philly, Chicago, Nashville, San Francisco, LA, Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth, all in the next month. I'm also going to add a Kansas City date, I think. So yeah, please come see me live in person.
Beautiful. That sounds wonderful. Guys, you can follow this podcast at Go Touch Grass Pod on everything, even Twitter.
Yes.
And if you
At
see
least
that we
it's there.
like stuff, it's because I was liking it. It's because I'm looking over there. I'm just not interacting. But you can follow me at Pandalise on Instagram and at Alise Navidad on TikTok.
Yes, you can follow me at Milly_Tamaris on Instagram and on TikTok, and at Milly Tamaris, aka Lactose Intolerant, on Twitter.
Don't forget to follow our Patreon. Don't forget that we have our first live show coming up April 19th in Y'all Fest.
Yes, and Laughter Labs.
Yes, and Laughter Labs Festival.
Yes.
It's here in New York. follow the Instagram. You'll get all the links. We'll be posting about that. We've got our special Road to 100 commemorative episode coming out soon.
Yeah, that'll come out in like the second week of April.
Yeah, something along those lines, but we've got it scheduled and we're excited. And until next time,
go touch grass.
That was a HeadGum podcast.
Hi, I'm Caleb Hearon, host of the So True podcast, now on HeadGum. Every week, me and my guests get into it, and we get down to what's really going on. I ask them what's so true to them, how they got to where they are in life, a bunch of other questions, and we also may or may not test their general trivia knowledge, whether it's one of my sworn enemies like Brittany Broski or Drew Wallow, or my actual biological mother, Kelly. My guests and I are just after the truth, and if we find it, great, and if not, no worries. So subscribe to So True on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and watch video episodes on the So True with Caleb Hearon YouTube channel. New episodes drop every Thursday. Love ya.